What is up, down, and sideways, all you beautiful individuals? It is another episode of League Unlocked. Eric and Mark here with you as we continue towards the end of the tunnel. That is the off-season. Seeing the final, getting confirmations, official announcements for a lot of these rumors that have been coming through, which means it's about time to look and say, okay, who actually won this offseason? Who had the best performance? I know it's a meme for Cloud9 to be winning the offseason, but I don't think APA for Loki, anyone is probably saying it this year.
No, I don't think so, but I think it's certainly a change that can be one of the ones that we will be talking about towards the end of the year when you're revisiting things like this and your initial impressions and whatnot. But it doesn't move the needle enough on the initial impression compared to some of the squads that we will break down. And I think, again, it will be a clear difference in you're seeing what we're going for with talking about these teams and how they've won their offseason.
And we got some squads, conveniently, kind of region by region almost, but there's a handful of teams you can talk about having a very successful offseason. And first and foremost, the biggest news, still probably Guma going over to Hanwha Life. But when you look at this roster, it's hard to say it's a hard win on the offseason. Getting Guma is amazing, but you already had Viper. So as great as Gumayushi is, the clutch factor, different things, championship pedigree he brings, it's a comparable change that you're getting. And then you throw in Kanavi and you say, okay, individually, better than Peanut probably, but I'm not convinced fitting into this team, Kanavi will actually be an upgrade over Peanut.
This is one of those ones where I'd want to make a statement about them about a month, 2 months into the season type of situation when you're talking about the changes for Hanwha Life, because it isn't going to be just the face value, the initial one game, whatever type of thing when you're looking at these changes to determine whether this is winning your off season, making these adaptations to the roster. Guma for Viper, as you pointed out, both incredibly skilled and talented ADCs and ones that can contribute quite a bit. Guma has a little bit more of that history in being the guy in some of these big game moments. As the course goes, when you're with T1, you have a lot of those opportunities to develop into that. I think that's certainly an avenue that you can look at as an advantage for Guma compared to the high skill that Viper still also brings to the position. You add Kanavi, and it is a more aggressive, more skilled user in the jungle at this point in his career. But seeing how that fits within the structure, fits within the identity of how you want to play, how you're going to be able to push on your opponent, that's something I think we're still waiting to see for Hanwha Life, and one where I'm not comfortable compared to some of the other off seasons we will talk about being them at the forefront of winning it all.
Yeah, and that's, again, testament. Even if you had a good offseason, there's two other pretty good teams over in the LCK. It's similar for a squad like Karmine Corp, where you see at least one of these moves. You see Busio come in for Targamas, and you go, okay, check, check, check. 3 checks across. You now probably have the best support in the league. It's a huge upgrade. Best bot lane with Kalist. Kiahu comes in for Vladdy, and you're going, is that an upgrade? Harder to say. Vladdy was one of the best performing mid laners despite all the off the rift drama. So it's another squad where you kind of have one mega check mark and one come see some.
Yeah, but that mega check mark is more than mega enough to make KC one of the legitimate options when you are talking about squads that have won the offseason, that do hit that grand slam home run to set themselves up for next year. Getting an upgrade in the support position already was going to be that thumbs up mega win for a squad like KC. You get the quality of player and young potential in Busio alongside Kalist for that support position. That is where you really take it to that next level if you're Karmine Corp. Yes, I think you can look at Kiahu and obviously not find the same level of excitement as you have with Vladdy in that position last year, but still enough potential upside with him. And again, what you are getting with Busio and combining him alongside your cornerstone, your pillar to build around in Kalist, that is what I love about this offseason for Karmine Corp.
And again, much like Hanwha Life, even with a good offseason, there's still a G2. There's still a Movistar Koi that's kind of sitting at the top of the throne of the LEC right now. So their work cut out for KC. When you look LCS side, obviously the most standout offseason goes to Team Liquid, and that's purely if you just added Quid. We already know Karmine Corp offered Quid that starting spot. You'd be talking about KC definitely winning the offseason if they were able to land him as well. But he chose Team Liquid. That's a huge upgrade over APA. He was the best mid laner all last year, but you still have a couple question marks in Morgan and Jose Diodo. I feel like Jose hasn't been on a team that has expectations this high, maybe in his whole career, and Morgan, a case of, okay, you were middle tier of the LCK. Can you dominate the LCS? Because we've seen that happen before.
Yeah, and I think when you're talking about this Team Liquid roster, the first thing to talk about them with winning the offseason is Quid, as you mentioned, in the mid lane, someone that they have pretty much no secret the last year and a half, at least a year, have been very much eyeing and wanting to bring into this organization, pair up with Jan as that core duo moving away from APA, and having Quid there and what he has done this past year and a half of the LCS. Yes, this is a win for this Team Liquid squad. This is what they wanted. This is going to provide that strength and that presence in the mid lane that wasn't there for them last year. And that is a big win for me in my books. Yes, you do look at Jose Diodo and Morgan and have some question marks as well, and kind of a similar aspect towards Karmine Corp and the questions that you'll have for Kyahu. But when you are talking about Jose Diodo, I think that there are a lot of signs from last year that with a squad like Team Liquid, players like Quid in the mid lane, bot lane Jan, you're going to have avenues to be better in the jungle and support these lanes. And I think that is where you can find some of the numbers of last year for Jose Diodo to validate this type of move, this type of promotion to the Team Liquid squad. And then for Morgan, it really is, to me, going to be about, is it the consistency that's going to come through because the level of gameplay isn't to the level what you have to go up against on a consistent basis in the LCK? Does that mean you are consistently that threat, that Lord Morgan in the top lane that we saw a handful of times throughout every split in the LCK, but never enough to push the bros into some serious, real playoff type of considerations? It's going to be different in the LCS, but the expectation for him and the demands on his play and capabilities for Team Liquid is going to be able to be one of the dominant threats within the region.
And what we learned in this offseason is, despite having a down year in 2025, hearing Quid talk about the pull that Core JJ still has for players just wanting to join Team Liquid to play alongside him.
Yeah, I think, number one, he's a good dude. That's one of those things that you can't undervalue, right? It is a working environment. You are spending a lot of time with these people, and having that type of charisma, that type of personality is a factor. I think the other one is also just his enthusiasm and knowledge for the game, right? And how the game has continued to rapidly evolve and shift and change. And hell, we're going into that this year with the quest items moving through the top lane, mid lane, and of course the bot lane. I think having a creative mind to approach the game like Core JJ's on your squad, not a bad thing to have in your pocket.
So all these rosters, they're getting A's, maybe A pluses for the offseason grade, but I'm actually going a little more dark horse for the winners of the offseason. We're going to the LPL, and these are sweeping changes that happened for JDG. The Scout Pays experiment did not quite work out, and it's a full revamp. Only Xiao Zhu is returning in the top lane, and that's already a check because that was a criminally underrated minimum top 3 top laner that we had in 2025. And then you bring that mid-jungle duo of CFO in Junjia and Hongqiu. I think those are direct upgrades over Jun and the level that Scout was put in last year, and you have that built-in synergy. Gala comes in off one of his best playoff performances of his career, and maybe a side grade or a comparable change between Pays, but that's more because Pays is amazing. And then a young player in Vampire coming in who's going to be an upgrade over Shuo and playing with far and away the best roster that he's ever had. This team's right there as a contender for me alongside guys like BLG, Top Esports, and AL.
I'm thrilled. I am so excited about this one because I think part of it is obviously the changes to the players and what is coming through for this JDG team, and part of it is the landscape within the LPL, right? When we were talking about Hanwha Life, Karmine Corp, you have to bring up, well, the Titans still exist within your region. So yes, this is winning the off season and everything else, But is it the win that's enough to make it the difference between you and the elite squads in the region type of thing? I think the LPL is a little bit more open. Yes, anyone's legend will be coming back. Yes, BLG is gearing themselves up, and these things do exist. But I think getting to that tippity top, proving yourself the elite squad, is a possibility that you are looking at when you're talking about these LPL squads, and a team like JDG that has significantly retooled with young, promising talent on this team. That is what I want to bet on with this JDG roster. I think you already mentioned it. Sticking with Xiaolu in the top side, that's a big win for me, because this is someone that has shown himself to, at the very least to me, he's a baby T-Rex. He's out there, he's hunting little chickens, things like that, but you wait for it. Soon enough, he's going to be hunting down the monsters. He's going to be the king of this prehistoric jungle in the LPL, and I'm waiting for him. I think this year could be a big pop-off year for him, alongside the rest of this young, talented squad that is now making up JDG.
And he lost out on some all-pro nods to guys like the Shy, but he was bodying the Shy in most of these matchups, even though JDG ultimately lost to IG in that gauntlet to qualify for Worlds. But then you throw in Tabe's coming over as the head coach for this squad. I know people were a little salty that he kind of got everyone on AL to re-sign and then ended up jumping ship to go over here. But obviously the history of Tabe is one of, if not the premier head coach in the LPL, and kind of bringing dark horse teams like AL to the promised land. Obviously, BLG wasn't a dark horse when he was there, but I've got high hopes for this squad being top 3 throughout 2026.
I think that the Tabe edition is just that extra bit that will push them over the top when you are comparing them with some of the off seasons that the other teams that we have talked about have had. Adding in that to the coaching staff side of things as well is that extra X factor that I think JDG bring to the equation when we're talking about this offseason, and just how monumental of a change this is for the organization. Yes, a squad that was kind of hovering around being a competent team, being one that could be in contention for any of these interesting spots, but ultimately didn't. Getting this revamp, retooling, reworking things around these young stars in the making, that is what I would love to see. And having Tabe be the one that is now controlling it, helping guide them along, I've got a lot of faith in what JDG should be able to do this year after this offseason.
The only pump the brake moments for this squad is we do have a history and precedent of these LCP players coming over to the LPL and not nearly reaching the highs that they reached in the other region, but feel like that's more often guys have come, a few years into their career. Hanwha's still 18 coming into here, so I've got more faith that we aren't going to get some dud performances out of the mid-jungle duo here.
And Hanwha, a little bit differently, has certainly shown himself out against the LPL, against the LCK, and all the other major regions. He has shown that he is ready for that type of spotlight, that type of attention level, and to be counted upon by his teammates, by his organization, to be that player. And I think that, again, as much as we hesitated, as much as we wanted him to stay with the Oysters because of the story and everything else, taking this next step forward is absolutely where you're going to see those wings really spread and start to fly for a superstar like Hanwha.
Every other squad we talked about maybe getting an A+, but it's an S+ off-season performance for JDG, and they were the last of all these teams to even start announcing this roster. But super excited to see them dive into the LPL season, and we'll do a full power rankings for all these LPL squads a little bit later. But that is it for League Unlocked today. Eric and Mark here with you, absolute beauties. Mark's so excited he's knocking his mic over, and we will catch you guys on that flippity flip.